Sunaina Pai. Good luck.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session of mine based on a personal project of mine named makesite.py. Makesite.py is yet another static site generator. And this session is about my journey from writing 120 lines of Python code to create makesite.py and to generate my static website with it, publishing it on GitHub, and announcing it on Hacker News so that other developers who want to use this to create their own static site can do so. Before we move on, let me introduce myself. I am Sunaina Pai. I'm a software developer from Bangalore, India. And I solve problems with Java using big data technologies at work. And I was introduced to Python while solving a data retrieval problem involving RabbitMQ. And it was a complex problem to be solved in a very short span of time. So I chose Python. Since then, I have always liked coding in Python. And these days, along with Python, I'm also exploring Lisp, because Lisp is also another beautiful language to know. It is teaching me very useful concepts as well. So what led to makesite.py? So when I first created my static website, I was using Jekyll. And then at some point, I wrote my own static site generator using shell script. However, it turned out to be very slow in performance because of sed, grep, and other Linux commands that I was using. And also, it was difficult for me to maintain, and it was becoming too clumsy for me to add new features. So that's when I decided I will rewrite it in Python. Thus, I began writing a few Python functions to create my own static website. I started with a very small scope, no magic. Every line of code should be easy to understand even for a beginner, and no dependency on multiple third-party libraries. And I decided to support a minimal set of necessary features that I felt were important. I should be able to generate my static website with this project. It should support multiple blocks in a website. It should support RSS feeds. And once this was done, I wanted to share it on Hacker News as a ShowHN post to make it available for a wider audience. This is the default directory structure expected by the makesite.py that I wrote. However, you can configure this, customize it as per your needs if this doesn't suit you. Makesite.py is the source code. Then there is the content directory for all your content files. The content files can be your site pages like about, index.html, or your blog posts. And then there is a layout directory for all your layout files. Out of the box, makesite.py supports simple placeholder-based templating. It does not support any conditional constructs or looping constructs. If you want to use any of those, yeah, the source code is very simple to modify, and you can add support for it as well. Then there is static directory for all your static content. The content in this directory is copied as it is to _site when the site is generated. So this makes it a good place for your CSS style sheets, JavaScript code, or image files. So this is a sample layout file. As you can see, it is a simple HTML file with placeholders delimited by double braces. Yeah, these placeholders are going to get replaced with the actual values when the site is generated. This is a sample content file. The content file has two parts, the content headers and the content itself. The content headers are again simple HTML comments with key value pairs. The values here are going to replace the placeholders in the templates that you saw in the previous slide when the site gets generated. Okay, in the next couple of slides, I'm going to do a quick code walkthrough. I have put up the source code URL for you so that you can follow along. Maybe the font is not so great in the next couple of slides. And the intention here is to not discuss the code in detail, but I just want to show you what functions are used so that you get a feel of what makesite.py is all about. Okay, fread and fwrite are wrappers around the file read and file write functions that I'm going to use throughout the code. Then there is the log function for diagnostic messages, and truncate function which truncates the text to a predefined limit of words. Now this function might be useful in a blog listing page. For example, when you visit the /blog on your website, you might want to display a list of blog posts, and along with those, a small preview text about what the blog post is about. So this is going to be useful. And read headers function parses those content headers that you saw in the previous slides. Okay, it's on this slide as well. It parses the content headers which are key value pairs and just returns them. The read content function reads the content files and creates useful information out of it, like the date, slug, and you can see that it also uses read headers as well to parse the content headers. And out of the box, makesite.py supports both Markdown as well as HTML for your content files, and it uses common mark to render the Markdown format. In case you want to use another library or you want to add support for other formats for your content files, this is the piece of code that you need to modify. Then there is the render function that replaces the placeholders with actual values when the site is generated. Now, the function that you are seeing here is not the first version of it. I had written a very inefficient code that was doing multiple passes over the template files, once for each of the placeholders in the template file. I received a very nice pull request from one of the contributors, and that is what you are seeing on the slide. He is doing it using a single pass for the rendering. Then there is the make pages function that is going to create your site pages like about index.html or your blog posts. And the make list function is going to generate the blog listing for you. Let us see what the main function does. The main function starts by copying. It starts by creating a fresh copy of _site directory, and then it copies the static content as it is to _site. And then it loads certain layouts. And sometimes you might want to combine multiple layouts to form a final layout. For example, a post layout might have to be rendered within a page layout. And then it calls make pages to create the site pages. And the same make pages is also used to create your blog posts. In this example, we have two blogs. One is blog and one is news. And then it uses make list to create the blog listing page for you. And the same make list is used to create the RSS feeds as well. Now, RSS feeds is just like any other blog listing page, the only difference being it expects XML layout rather than HTML. And so you can use the same make list function. And finally, you call the main method, after which makesite.py generates static website and writes it to _site directory. So once all this was done, I went ahead and published the source code on GitHub. And here are the source code URLs for you. And there is an URL to the demo website as well, which is created entirely with makesite.py. And I also announced it on Hacker News as a ShowHN post so that it is reachable to a wider audience, and other developers who want to create their own static site generator can make use of this project as well as build on top of it. So when I did this, I didn't have much expectation, but I thought that if 1 or 2 developers go ahead and use this and find it useful, I would be happy. However, after about 8 hours of announcing it on Hacker News, I saw that my post was trending on the front page. And I also saw that people are starring and forking my project on GitHub as well. I can't be very sure like why people started liking this simple project of mine, but based on the feedback that I received, I have some theories and I would like to share them with you. I had a very detailed project README put up on GitHub. This is useful for beginners or newcomers to Python who can read this README as well as go along the source code and understand certain concepts and how makesite.py functions. I also had Travis CI and Coveralls integration, and I had good amount of unit tests written covering various functionalities of the project, so that unit tests and coverage can run with each commit or each pull request that I receive. In fact, this is the pull request that I was mentioning earlier about a contributor giving an improved single pass templating, and this is the one you are seeing right now. And this is the screenshot of the demo website which was created using makesite.py. And this is the blog listing page. You can see the RSS link at the bottom of the page. The very next day, I was very surprised to see that my ShowHN post was still trending, and it was trending on top of ShowHN page. And someone told me, and I saw that I had a virtual fame for a day on GitHub trending page and trending right next to Linus Torvalds. I have put up a summary of what work went into this project. This is like a learning for me, as well as it might somebody who is new to Python community can refer to this. And of course, it's helpful for my future projects. Obviously, I wrote the code, and then I wrote good amount of unit tests, and I put up a detailed README explaining the project. And I went ahead and published it on GitHub. I didn't wait for the project to be perfect or anything, but I thought that, a couple of people can provide feedback or use it. It would be good. And I had integration with Travis CI and Coveralls for code coverage report and running unit tests. And I also set up an online demo in the form of that demo website so that people can see what the output looks like. And I announced it on Hacker News so that it is reachable to a wider audience and people can make use of it. So what did I achieve out of all this? Apart from revamping my own static website, I also got a small community of Python developers who use this project now. And I have received pull requests to improve the software, and I have learned a thing or two from them. And I also became a part of very welcoming community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sunaina. That was a very interesting talk. I'm not sure I would have been brave enough to put an early Python project of mine out on Hacker News. I think this really is quite an amazing effort, and it shows how somebody who is relatively new to Python can produce work which will bring other people into the Python community as well. And I think we should welcome the fact that there are so many people still apparently joining the Python community. As you might have gathered, Sunaina indicated before the talk that since this was her very first time speaking at any conference, she would prefer not to answer questions. But I think we should again just let her know how wonderfully we think she did.